Hey, how's it going? It's Robin Smith, and it's time. Excuse me. It's time for the Robin Smith Show for Sunday, December 7th, 2025. Welcome to the podcast. No guest today, just me, just yours truly. Hope you had a happy Thanksgiving. I think I talked about that last time. Yeah, you must have had a happy Thanksgiving because that was over 2 weeks ago. Numb nuts. Come on, Robin, get it together. So we have our Christmas tree. If you celebrate Christmas, do you have a Christmas tree? We're still putting ornaments up on it. And, when I was little, my grandma had this pillow. She, like a little pillow you'd have on the couch or something. But instead of being filled with down or cotton or whatever, it was filled with pine needles. And I remember that thing only came out for the holidays, and I remember I'd bring it up to my nose and I'd be like, this is the smell of Christmas. Well, I want to get one of those for my girls. So actually, I think one of my daughters wants a sewing kit, our youngest. She wants a sewing kit. So maybe we can sew a pillow together, fill it with the Christmas tree pine needles of Christmas 2025. These are all just musings. That's not going to happen. Will it? Will it happen? I don't know. Welcome to cynicism. This is my cynical part. I have some announcements to make. I did actually make the 60 miles this year for Movember. I didn't make it last year. The mistake I made was not starting running or walking until November 9th or whatever. So hooray, I made it this time. I have an announcement. I'm playing the Iris Garden Bar on January 10th. So for local listeners, come on out to, that's Restaurant 198 in Burtonsville. Their Instagram is for the music part of it. That's a live music venue. And I think the owner told me, apparently, this thing has been around it feels like it's been around for a couple years, but he's like, it's the official opening. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's the opening. I thought it was out. Maybe I just didn't understand. So apparently it's some big thing. He was like, you want to play this show? I'm like, sure. And I think there's many other musicians on the bill. So that's exciting. I have no idea what I'm going to play, but stay tuned. Speaking of also shows, I did not make it to the Wonderland Ballroom. Swoll played in D.C. This week, and they have a surprise show. They have a new show added to their tour. They're playing Metro Gallery December 10th. So I am going to try and do a makeup since I didn't get to the Wonderland Ballroom. I want to get to the Metro Gallery. Speaking of, I'm going to share a track with you later in the podcast of Swoll, just to help promote them. Also out now, this week, December 2nd, it was released. The new book by Dick Schwartz and Thomas Hubel. How do you pronounce with the umlaut? The U with the two dots over it. Is it Hubel? It's Hubel, maybe. I'll find that out. Why don't I find it out right now? Here. You press the U down, and then you hold it, and then it allows you to do that. Okay, pronounce. Umlaut pronunciation. The U sound is made by saying the E sound, like in C. Oh, really? Hebel. So it's Thomas Hebel? Is that right? German listeners, write in. Let me know. Wow, I've been saying Hebel this whole time. Anyway, Hebel. Their new book, Releasing Our Burdens, A Guide to Healing Individual, Ancestral, and Collective Trauma. That was out this week, December 2nd, so go get yours. Or if you have like an Audible subscription or Spotify Premium, or you can listen to it. This is what I like. I get that it's a pain in the ass to read your own book. I love it when authors read their own book, but it's it's good. The thing is with books like this, also there's practice sections, so it's kind of like guided meditations. At least that's my understanding. I haven't gotten too far into it, but it sounds like there are meditations in this book. And I remember reading No Bad Parts, one of Dick Schwartz's other books, and that one I didn't do the audiobook of, but I just read it. And when there were exercises, I'd open my eyes and I'd read, the guided meditation excuse me, and then I'd close my eyes and I'd go back in and I'd, do some work, and then I'd open my eyes and read the next sentence. So it's kind of a little bit like hitting the pause button if you do one of those guided meditations where you journal or, things like that. Speaking of, I just did one of those today. Somehow it came across my desk. What's her name? The Liz Gilbert. The Eat, Pray, Love gal. She was, I don't know how it came across, but maybe someone recommended, she talks with Dick Schwartz, one of my colleagues probably, hosted by Tammy Simon of Sounds True. So Liz Gilbert, the Eat, Pray, Love. I mean, she's an author. She's a prolific author, but I only know her from Eat, Pray, Love. Not that I've even read that book or seen that movie either. That's just her most famous, Anyway, I digress. Liz Gilbert was speaking to Dick Schwartz about two-way prayer dialogue. I guess she had some, crisis or, divorce earlier in her life. And sometimes when people hit those lowest of lows, that's when they call out asking for help, higher power, divine source, guidance, etc. And the most loving and kind voice came to her, and Dick was kind of saying, yeah, that sounds like it's a guide or itself. And they were talking in that conversation, distinguishing between what self, your higher self, versus a guide being a whole and well ancestor, a wise and well ancestor. Anyway, so yeah, she was talking about, she's now Liz Gilbert does that every day of her life. I don't know if she does it for an hour or whatever, but she channels. She calls it two-way prayer dialogue. You could easily call it channeling, automatic writing, I don't know, divination if you're a witch. I don't know. But anyway, it's very interesting. I was doing that with a meditation, and I connected with an ancestor. Now, you know why we call them wise and well ancestors, or sometimes referred to as whole and well? Because there are not well ancestors. Hello. We call them demons. Jinn. I need to learn more of the terms of these things. It's basically they're unhealed ancestors. I think part of, again, I may be speaking out of turn, the Releasing Our Burdens book that I mentioned, I'm looking forward to getting to a section where it talks about the ancestral trauma and, doing your healing now, you as a taxpayer, law-abiding, heartbeat-having citizen, when you do your healing, you're also healing unwell ancestors simultaneously. Anyway, I digress. There's something else I wanted to say before I play this Swoll track, and that is, hang on a second. Okay. Liz Gilbert also appeared on the Telepathy Tapes podcast, which I certainly have mentioned many times on this show, and she tells the story of how authoring a story, writing a story was coming to her. She basically, the episode was about like, where do ideas come from? And treat ideas as if they are living, breathing beings. There was actually a piece on the PBS NewsHour, they did the arts and culture, and there was some band from maybe Austin, some instrumental band. And they were talking about, the song is a entity. The song it's a trio, right? And they're like, when we're writing a song, there's four of us in the room, right? And the host tried to give them an out and say, I know you're being metaphorical, and they were like, no, it's not a metaphor. Anyway, so Liz Gilbert, the story is trying to be born through her. The story realizes, hey, my surrogate mommy who's supposed to write me down and share me with the world here on Earth plane consciousness is not actually going to do that. So if I can't get her to birth me, I'm going to jump into someone else. So Liz was a temporary surrogate mother to this story, and then the story she tells the story on Telepathy Tapes, but this other author is excited. They're at some like event together. The other author is in excitement, like gives her a kiss on the lips. And they think that kiss is actually how the story jumped from Liz to this other author. And then years later, the other author writes the exact same story. The two ladies meet up and they're like, hey, this is my story. it's about this specific person, this character in this city who has this kind of a crisis at work and has to fly down to this other country and deal with, this project and there's corruption. All these specifics, like Minneapolis, I don't remember the city, but everything very, very, very specifically. And then the other author is like, yeah, that's the story I wrote. That is the story. It's the same story. It's wild. Okay. Wild, wild, wild. Anyway, whoa. There goes one of my pictures. It's school photos came, so I now get to look at my lovely daughters on my desk. Except I don't have them in like frames. They're just leaning against my computer. So when the HVAC system kicks on, got to figure out a way to stabilize them. Anyway, all right. Let me share this track from Swoll. Which one is this? This is from their album Avoid Attach, and this is called Dream. Enjoy. I could see you recognize the dream. I always promised you that I could see the center of you to be less weak than the sky. My soul was given to, but I will step back in time. Nice. That is the kind of song I want to listen to while I'm walking through a snowy garden. Peaceful snow, not blizzard, not that. It's like it doesn't sound anything like it. At least I don't think so. But like Animal Collective's song "Bluish." Yeah, there's I don't know. There's certain songs that have like textures that I associate to, or what am I trying to say? They just have that kind of a feel, the kind of feel you get. I was maybe it's just because it's snowing today. That's probably what it is. I was driving my girls to school, and it was snowing, and there was just this moment of Mariah Carey's "Merry Christmas" album is on this, one of their favorite albums this time of year, and so we're listening to that. The large magical chunks of snowflake are gracefully falling. My girls are healthy, safe, comfortable being driven to school. I just felt like an overwhelming gratitude. There's something about those moments, you know. Anyway, what was I going to say? Oh, I coming up later. So I have a conversation. I've had Bob Falconer on a lot. I need to diversify my guests here. It just keeps naturally happening. Last week, I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Stuart and I. It was less of a conversation and more, at least this is my self-conscious part. It's like Stuart asked questions and then I just fucking rambled for 20 minutes, you know. Well, what else is new? No, what I meant to say was, so former guest of the show, Chris Hancock, he was on the Halloween Spectacular, and he asked for me to make an introduction between him and Bob Falconer, and so we decided to put that on mic. It's like, hey, let's record it. Let's see what happens in that conversation. And Chris does a similar form of work as Bob does. If you're not familiar, this is essentially IFS therapy, but taken to the deeper spiritual realms. You know, I was talking about ancestors before the music track, and basically IFS's word for this is unattached burdens are the not well ancestors, and spirit guides are the well ancestors. And so Chris knows this about Bob's work, and Chris, as he talks about, if you go back and listen to the episode, you'll hear he can details this, but essentially he has learned how to connect with these other beings like Mother Mary. Well, he refers to her as Cosmic Mary, or Jesus. There's others, but I think Mother Mary is really his right-hand lady in terms of compassionately, what's the word? Removing, like extraction, compassionate, entity extraction. I don't know. Anyway, that's a very interesting conversation. That's coming up. I think that's being released next week. And I need to book other guests. My booking personality is on winter break already, I guess. I don't know. Before going, where are we on the show? Okay. Before going, I do want to just say, the Commanders gave the Broncos a run for their money, right? The Broncos, it was the Broncos, right? I'm not confusing them with another team. They have a really great record. They were 9-2 or something like that. Meanwhile, the Commanders are 3-9 or 3-8, or we are leading the league in most consecutive losses. We're on a 7 game losing streak now, with having lost to the Broncos. But at least we gave them a run. We got into overtime, and anytime there's a weeknight game that goes into overtime, I just feel like it's disrespectful to us wusses. Okay, why are you doing that? It's warped when I'm actually rooting. I'm like, if you can't get a touchdown, I hope you lose. I don't want you to get a field goal and take us into overtime. That's what kind of a fan am I when I'm like, now I want you to lose. You didn't do it. Don't bring us into overtime. Of course, we go into overtime, and then gosh, how amazing would that have been if we had made that 2-point conversion? And that would have been a great upset. Still doesn't take away from the fact that it's like, oh yeah, okay, we just ended our 6-game losing streak or whatever, Anyway, and I haven't kept up as much with the Caps. I blame Monumental Sports app. I'm not going to bitch and moan now. I'm just going to say that when I want to go rewatch, when I used to have YouTube TV and there was the library, a DVR library, you could go back and watch the game. No, not so. With if you miss it or you go back, I even was watching. I don't even remember the game, but I was watching it, and then I'm like, I pause it for dinner or a nighttime routine, and then I go back to watching it. It's gone. It's no longer even on the menu for on-demand and replays because it's on there for only 24 hours or something. So it was taken away from me. These are the first world problems that I am going to bitch and complain. I'm into it. I'm bitching and complaining. Come on, Monumental Sports app. Get with the program. All right. Let's read here before we go. How about pro bono counseling, your mental health connection? At Pro Bono Counseling, we believe access to quality mental health care is a human right and can change a person's life. Our goal is to help people of all backgrounds in Maryland find the right mental health professional to meet their needs, no matter their income. Visit probonocounseling.org to learn more. Let's also read Feeding America. In a country that wastes billions of pounds of food each year, it's almost shocking that anyone in America goes hungry. Yet every day there are millions of children and adults who do not get the meals they need to thrive. We work to get nourishing food from farmers, manufacturers, and retailers to people in need. At the same time, we also seek to help our neighbors build a path to a brighter, food-secure future. Learn more at feedingamerica.org. And that's the podcast. Thanks for listening, all. I forgot to read this last thing. If you have a question for an upcoming guest, don't hesitate to write into the show at robinsmithshow@gmail.com. Leave a voicemail on the show's hotline, 301-458-0883. And now that's the show. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time. The Robin Smith Show is produced by me, Robin Smith. Executive produced by Robin and Kelly Glenn Smith at Team Robley. Theme song by The Very Small. The show is engineered by one of my alters, Games Nabisco. Listeners can get in touch by calling or texting the hotline at 301-458-0883. Messages can be sent to robinsmithshow@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow the show on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Disclaimer. This podcast is for general information purposes only and does not constitute the practice of medicine, psychotherapy, or other professional healthcare services, including the giving of medical advice. Note, no therapist-patient relationship is formed. The use of this information is at the listener's own risk. The content of this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnoses, or treatment. Listeners should not disregard or delay in obtaining medical advice for any medical condition they have and should seek the assistance of their healthcare professionals for any such conditions.